Hi, this is Aart, great you're watching. This week is not about design sprints or Scrum for that matter, but it's about something really fundamental. It's about the lean startup. Hi, this is Aart. Great you're watching again. This Hints for Sprints is about one classic book I find we talk about too little. It's the Lean Startup. This is Ries. That's the author of the book. And what he tries with this book is to convince everybody to innovate like you would in a startup. He sold like 1 million copies of the book. I don't know, maybe more. It's crazy. The book was wildly popular. But I bet not everybody read it, because I think the book is quite difficult to read. It's almost like it lacks an editor or something. So stay tuned, there we go. Ries says his method is the perfect balance between strict management, which is the classical way to do it, or total chaos. The Lean Startup builds on a couple of principles. And the first one is entrepreneurs are everywhere. It's not just people in a startup, but he says everybody who wants to create new products is an entrepreneur. And that's a very interesting concept. And then on top of it, he says entrepreneurship is management. It's not like the crazy inventor in a room, but it's this: if you apply the right management methods, you'll bring your startup to success. And the third rule is validated learning. If you measure what you do and you try to learn from everything you see, you'll quickly go to the ideal state. You'll learn to be successful. Where Ries says the faster you go through this loop, the better you learn what products your customers like. And then the fifth rule, it's about innovation accounting, to hold entrepreneurs accountable for what they do and so create better outcomes. But it all really triples down to learning faster than your competitors. If you learn faster than everybody else, you outrun the competition. The first part of the book is about vision, where Ries states every company should have a vision, and on top of your vision you build your strategy and then a product. And while you're busy running your startup, things may change. You may change your product, which you then go optimize, or you may change your strategy, which you then call a pivot. However, the vision is never changed, because he says every startup has a North Star, like a true north, really like the reason of being of the startup. That's why you're there. There's a firm belief in what you want to accomplish, and that never changes. It's really the fundament of everything else. The assumption is you don't change your vision. Now, if you do your product optimization, you do it with the build, measure, learn feedback loop. And I'm sure you saw this model, because it's like the outtake from the book. And Ries compares it to a steering wheel. He says this is really to adjust your product. Traditionally, if you want to innovate, you start with building a product. In Lean Startup style, you start with the learning. And then from the learning, you get ideas. And from the ideas, you build a product. And when the product is on the market, you can measure real data. And you use the data to learn, to get new ideas, and so on. If you start creating products, nothing is there. So the first step you have to take in faith, and that's what Ries calls the leap of faith. However, you don't start with nothing, you start with learning. And to do that, you create a hypothesis. It's like the blueprint of what you want to learn. Say you're after a better lunch option for college students. Then it may look like this. You start with, we believe that college students are looking for cheaper and more convenient lunch options than the campus restaurant. But you need to check it. So what will you do? You will just ask people in the cafeteria to sign up with their email address to receive an offer. And you can say, well, we gauge a good interest in this. 10% of the responders gives out their email address. This is a good blueprint of your test. Now, if you start building, you build a minimum viable product. And the Lean Startup really introduced this concept, and it's really popular. You hear it a lot, but often it's used wrongly. So let's look at this example. Say you're in the business of creating cars. Your minimum viable product, the way it sounds, is the first product you can sell. So you start building a car and then sell it. But that's not the Lean Startup way. Because the Lean Startup is about learning and proving you're on the right track. So what you do, instead of maybe building a car, you build a website where you describe your car, you put a price tag on, and maybe you ask people to pre-order the car. Does this sound familiar? Anyway, this is the fastest thing to learn from, and it shows you you're on the right track. It's the fastest way to go through the feedback loop. That's a minimum viable product. So maybe the name is not really correct, but minimum viable is something fast to learn from. If you put your product out there, you can start measuring the results. And this is really needed for the innovation accounting. There should be really accountability in the innovation in order to be quick in adapting to changes. And see, maybe you're not on the right track. You'll know that very early if you do proper innovation accounting. Now, be really specific with the metrics you use and be really strict to yourself. Maybe you pick metrics like the number of app installs if you're making a iPhone app, or maybe it's the click-through rate if you're running ads online, or the hits on your landing page. Ries introduced the vanity metrics that make you feel good, make you look good, make you fall in love with your product, but they don't really show the whole picture. Metrics should be real and actionable. So maybe not the number of app installs, but use the number of monthly active users. If you're looking at a paid funnel, don't optimize for click-through rate, but optimize for the total spend. Don't look at the landing page hits, but look at the sign-ups. Real metrics that go to the core of your offering. If you begin your startup, there are many routes to take. And in the beginning, you just don't know. So you pick one that is mostly aligned with your vision. It's the leap of faith. And on top of this strategy, of course, you make your product, which you start making better and better and better with the product optimization loop. The build, measure, learn, feedback loop. And you just go along the way. And usually you learn and you improve and you learn and you improve. But what if there is a major roadblock, something you cannot overcome? Now, this is a time where a pivot happens. You go a bit back and you assess the situation, and if you have to, you do a pivot. And it's simply taking a different strategy to get to your vision. If it's necessary, you should pivot, but it's not something you should take lightly, because every pivot takes money. But the runway of a startup is how many pivots you can do. So you should only pivot if it's really necessary. But if you have to, do it quick so you don't burn your cash or run into this brick wall. And the pivot was a change of strategy. So you see, if you change the strategy, the product falls flat, you make a new strategy and you make a new product on top of that. That's why there's an investment involved. There are a number of pivots. You have a zoom in pivot where you take one feature of your product and it becomes your new product. So you zoom in. Zoom out is the exact reverse. Or you change the customer segment where you realize that you solve a real problem but not for the right people. Or there's a pivot, it's a customer need where you realize that you are not solving the right problem. The platform pivot is where you go from an application to create a platform that's open for other applications just like you. There are two that really go how you run your business. Maybe you run a high margin, low volume model, or you do a low volume, high margin model. Or there's the way you capture value from the market. You list the engine of growth. How do you grow your business? Or maybe you should use a different channel to reach your customers. Or the technology pivot, which is like you keep the same solution but with different technology, which is very, well, a simple pivot to do. A very nice example is the pivot of YouTube, because probably you don't know, they started out as a dating platform. They decided that was not the way to go, but they reused the video technology and to attain their vision to connect people. Ries discusses 3 different engines for growth, and they're also really useful if you're a product manager. They're sticky, viral, and paid. If you use a sticky growth engine, you simply never let go of your users. So you attain users, but you bind them so well, they never leave. A good example is Netflix. Every week, maybe every month, they create new content and they send out emails. Look, we have new content we're sure you'll like. So you keep on watching and you keep on being interested in the Netflix service. The viral growth engine is something we all know. It's how social networks grow. A good example is the referral options that a lot of products have. For instance, look here, this is Dropbox. If you invite a friend, you get some free storage and your friend. So you really want to invite your friends, and by this you grow the network. And the paid growth engine is also something you probably know. We all use the web, and if you use the web, you're served ads. Google serves you ads, Facebook serves you ads, YouTube serves you ads. Here, let's look here. If I search for post-it notes on Google, it will serve me an ad, and then if I click on the link, of course they have to pay for the ad, and then I click on the link, I order post-its, and then the only thing you should make sure if you run your business like this, what's really important with this growth engine is that you earn more from your customer than you pay for the visit. But why is it lean? Lean really goes back to the management system that was put in place by Toyota, and Toyota is not a fancy Japanese name, but it's really the Toyota from the cars we all know. Like, it's one of the biggest car manufacturers, and they do it really well. And some of the concepts from the lean management system, the Toyota way, is you take everything into small batches rather than big planning up front and then big execution. You take a small batch, you put it through your whole system, and then you learn from it and you adapt and you make sure there's flow. Of course, this is exactly what you do with your minimum viable product. Another pillar of lean is that you measure what's happening. You want to be in control. You do validated learning. Of course, that's right at the core of the build, measure, learn feedback loop. Finally, Eric Ries reminds us not to create waste, also one of the pillars of lean. So there you go. It's a lean sauce on, doing the right stuff. So looking back, first, entrepreneurs are everywhere. They can be in every company, but they need to be managed differently. Learn from everything you do. Always adjust your product to go into the right direction, but if you need to make a big break, change your strategy as well. And of course, you have to build it up again. Have innovation accounting, which is very important, but it's different than your standard business accounting. So there you have it. That was really all there is in this book from cover to cover. I try to make it understandable so you don't have to wade through it. I hope you will use it in your work. Let me know if it was any good, and I hope to see you on the next one.